Hello, welcome to today's edition of the Academy. Today we're going to be dealing with Liddell Hart's strategy book. Within it he has 8 maxims of strategy, and we're going to start today with number 7, which is the first of his 2 negative maxims. These are maxims of do not. Okay, so before we get started, I want to thank everyone for sticking with me, subscribing if you have, sharing and liking my videos, commenting below, keeping me kind of encouraged through that. I appreciate it. And if there's anything you're interested in me kind of covering, you have some suggestions, please let me know. So let's go ahead and take a look at maxim number 7. Okay, number 7: do not throw your weight into a stroke whilst your opponent is on guard. Interesting. Okay, in his paragraph he kind of details this a little bit more. He says, whilst he is well placed or parry to parry or evade it. That's his concept of prepared or on guard. Now, the experience of history shows that, save against a much inferior opponent, no effective strike is possible until his power of resistance or evasion is paralyzed. Now, hence, no commander should launch a real attack upon an enemy position until satisfied that such paralysis has developed. It is produced by disorganization and its moral equivalent, demoralization of the enemy. Okay, so I actually do like this because it helps us, I think, get perspective on what we're really trying to do on the tabletop when we're shooting each other's units. Okay, a lot of game systems in combat, they have 2 aspects. There's a shooting aspect and a close combat aspect, and there's always movement involved. So how you can use this on a tabletop is actually fairly straightforward, but it's kind of hard for us to keep in mind because we kind of get caught up in the mechanics of the game, we get caught up in the energy of the game. But let's look at this. Your opponent, unless he's deployed poorly or done something wrong, or the mission is set up in such a way where he has some sort of handicap already, or maybe you have a handicap, unless that's the case, you guys are pretty much on equal footing, and he's on guard. He's ready to oppose you. He's either ready to evade you or strike back, and he considers it parrying, essentially blunting the impact of your attack, your stroke. So how do we, being a parody, how do we do something about it? Well, aside from, it's important to, there's some tactical things you can do, and I've dealt with some of those in other videos, such as one of the earlier Academy videos about making a fair fight unfair. And there's a lot of Sun Tzu videos that deal with it too. But I want to touch on a specific aspect of this particular maxim that I want to delve into in more detail. So let me just cover in general some of the quick ways we can do this. Remember, you're trying to demoralize or disorganize the opponent. Now, you can do that through simply consolidating your entire combat capability on a small portion of his force, especially if you can positionally dislocate him. For example, deploy your entire army on one half of the board or one side of the board while your opponent's dispersed across the whole board edge. You can put your entire combat capability against one piece at a time. It'll take him time to get into position and thwart you. Okay. Another way would be to literally, when he is in position, you can outflank him, potentially in some systems, send in units from a different direction to completely dishevel him, because he will need to modify his position to engage all the disparate different attacks coming. Alright, so those are the kind of ways you can do that. But now here is really what I want to focus on in this particular video. And it's the idea of disorganizing or demoralizing before you launch your stroke. Okay, so think in terms, we always, in our games, we want our first turn to be just devastating, tearing apart the enemy units and all that stuff, looking to knock out units all over across the board. Yeah, that's a good thing. It feels actually pretty good to watch that happen. But do you really need to destroy units completely? Okay, with the initial round salvos, right? In World War I, well, heck, in most of the wars, artillery, especially the more modern stuff, had been touted as, well, we'll just bombard them with all this artillery, we'll blow them to smithereens, and through all the carnage that's left there, our infantry will simply stroll forward and take the positions. Obviously, that never works, okay? Because there's more to it than just overwhelming firepower taking out the enemy. There's always a follow-up in infantry, which is going to result in firefights and close combat. So, what we can do to apply this particular is do not charge your entire force into the thick of the enemy's positions to start getting into close combat and start physically pressing them until you've worn them down. Get in a position where your units can maintain their strength, hopefully, while pouring fire into a unit, whittling it down. Let's say it's 10 men strong. Whittle it down to 7 or 6, and then go in with your 10 men. Because now it's smaller. It's not going to have as many attacks back, especially if there's any initiative system in the game where the one who's charging gets to attack first. The other one responds after the fact with whatever's left. Now, if it's simultaneous, it's a little less of an issue or advantage of attacking, but still, the fact that your opponent has fewer units to attack back at you is better for you. Don't charge a healthy unit. Charge a unit that's already been whittled down through advanced fire. Okay. Now, we all want to focus our fire to take out an entire unit, but since we don't have to do that because we can always follow up with a close combat attack to wipe the rest of the unit off, the opposite extreme is to, well, just shoot at everything, whittle it all down, and then attack what's weakest. Well, unfortunately, that disperses things too much and allows too much of the opponent's army to return fire. So again, you have to find the balance between where is it you're going to try to knock out, what units you're going to try to take out. And before you go in with a close combat type of an attack, or bring your heavy equipment or armor in, for example, against positions that have anti-tank, you need to wear them down, break them out, knock out a couple guns, minimize the number of attacks that can come back at you, take out enough men so that a close combat attack they'll be a little bit more overwhelmed, and that way they're not in a position to respond. They are disorganized. Maybe he has gaps in his line. Maybe his units are pushed back because let's say his unit was spread across a couple terrain features, and you took several models out, and he's no longer in one of the terrain features. Gives you the ability to get into that one without as much difficulty, without as much resistance. So this, especially in case of building-to-building fighting, or ruin-to-ruin fighting kind of thing, can be some advantages depending on the game system. But it all boils down to that concept of do not launch your assault into the enemy positions until they have already been kind of, I'll call it softened up, disorganized. Demoralized, maybe. Now, let's look at the demoralizing perspective. We can't demoralize the plastic figures or metal figures on the table. Ain't gonna happen. But we can demoralize our opponent. If we can have a pretty devastating blow landed, even if it doesn't take out a unit completely, if it just seriously hurts an important unit of his, he may lose some confidence, and that is a aspect of wargaming. Okay, the player's confidence, his ability to respond to the situation as it develops, is keenly dependent upon his self-confidence. Okay, now you don't want to. You're not trying to bully anybody. You're simply trying to put the pressure on the table so that he feels a little bit stressed. Maybe he's disillusioned, dissatisfied, he's disappointed. He's worried this one unit he really cares about is about to die or whatever. Maybe your attacks are doing better than he expected. Maybe you hit him from a direction you didn't expect. Going for that demoralization is a key. Try to achieve that before you go in for the kill. Okay, because sometimes you need to follow up with your attacks with the ability to hold your ground and stand against the counterattack. Because just because you take a position or an objective, if the game doesn't end right away, there's an opportunity for the opponent to come back and take it back from you, right? So make sure you have tried to demoralize your opponent first. disorganize his units by weakening them or breaking them up, hopefully forcing them back through some morale mechanic, before you actually physically move into positions. Okay, that's kind of what he's talking about here. And so, very simple, very straightforward warning. Don't attack a prepared position that's ready for you to come in. Okay? All right, so hopefully that helped. Hopefully it was clear. So if not, let me know below. I'll try it again if you need it, because everybody learns differently. And sometimes you'll hear it a certain way and it'll make sense. Other times someone will tell you, you're like, what are they talking about? So, sorry, the cats are going at it. All right, so with that, I'll leave you till next week. Hope to see you next week in the Academy. With that, goodbye. Thank you for watching.